Stop doing this classic mistake when you're doing your character creation. A lot of people turn up to session 0 already with a good character concept in their head. Except, you're actually making a bit of a dire mistake. Look, I understand you're keen and it's great you're prepared to play, but you're missing the point of a session 0, which is to prepare for the campaign. For the DM, this means setting expectations, establishing boundaries, and making sure that whatever you have planned is actually going to be enjoyable for everyone at the table. For the players, this is about making sure the party is actually going to work for the campaign. The classic thing here is making sure the party has a healer, proper caster, a tank, but that's more a case of mechanical balance, which isn't actually essential in every campaign. My biggest issue when people jump to making their characters though is the narrative consequences. Basically, a party needs a reason to stick together, and the easiest way to do that is to have the characters actually like each other. I'm sure all of you have had someone in your party who steals, lies, cheats, hides things from the group, gets the group into trouble with the local town. They might not even be a murder hobo, they might just be a character that doesn't fit for your campaign. The tortured, morally grey rogue doesn't tend to work in a save the girl type adventure. It leaves this big lingering question why that character is there and a part of this party. The answer is all too often because we like the person who's playing that character. That really limits the roleplay for other people though, because they have to compensate for what logically their characters should do, which is kick the other party member out. So it's never really a question you want lingering over your character. It's why an important part of session 0 is making sure all your characters have a reason to be together. Going in with a personality and class kind of gets in the way of all that. Not that you should walk in with no idea, the key here is to be flexible. Prepare a few ideas going in. That way you can bounce off the other players, contribute to the discussion, and really work your character into the story brief the GM's going to give you during session 0. D&D at its core is a collaborative storytelling game, and your role as players is to be characters in that story. So when the DM says you're going to be doing a monster hunting campaign, now probably isn't the best time to whip out your Grand Vizier character you've been working on for 2 years. Not that the DM should be the dictator at the table though. Everyone should be on board for the story the DM wants to tell. So how do you make a character that fits the story? Well, let's pull from a classic. You're sitting down to make a party for Curse of Strahd. Curse of Strahd is a dark, gothic story dripping with horror and classic vampiric elements. So a good first step here is to make characters who fit within the tropes of this kind of story. For example, you might make Dan Delsing. Though if you're going down this route, it's always best to grab a bunch of characters for inspiration rather than making a one-to-one ripoff. It leads to more interesting characters at the end. The idea here is to look for characters that already fit within this type of story. Now, you don't have to just make stereotypical characters based off of already existing tropes. You can subvert and work from those tropes and still make a character that's perfect for the story. So let's have a look at the classic tropes for a character in a vampire hunting story. Big leather coats, crossbows, dark colours. So what if we made a magical girl? Something that's a utter contrast to the stereotypical elements of a vampire hunting story. A great example of a character whose subversion aids a campaign is Jester from the Mighty Nine. The Mighty Nine is a very gritty, down-to-earth story about taking down an empire. It deals with, like, real imperialism. And Jester is a girly pop childish character who runs around with her imaginary friend and wields a giant lollipop as a weapon. She provides a lot of great levity in the campaign and makes the drama all the sweeter when her girly pop bubble bursts. Okay, so in our fake party, we currently have Dan Delsing and Selena, the magical girl of the moon. Now, the most important thing here is we make sure these characters are going to get along in some fashion. This doesn't have to be a case of they're best friends who do each other's nails. It does have to be a bond that drives them to work for the same goal. Say perhaps Strahd killed Delsing's wife and has kidnapped Selena's girlfriend. He plans on turning her into one of his wives. This would give them a shared bond of lost love. Not only giving them a common ground to bond over as people, it also gives them a motivation driving them in the direction of the story. And all of this can be achieved by talking with your DM during session 0. This is what I mean by making characters that work together and complement each other. It gives ground for roleplay to grow from, yet growth without conflict is boring. So it's important to put small obstacles, gears that don't quite fit right, into your character dynamics. Continue our example, maybe Delsing finds Selena's attitude grating at times, which leads to him snapping at her, saying something very hurtful. Great roleplay moments can spring from internal conflicts like these, but it's important to make sure the gears that don't quite fit aren't enough to pry the party apart. For example, Delsing and Selena have just failed to stop Strahd yet again, and Delsing is despairing. Selena tries to comfort him by being an optimist, but Delsing snaps at her, taking it a bit too far and saying that maybe she won't be so optimistic after her stupidity gets her girlfriend killed. Now, if this scene happens too early on, it'll be really devastating for the party, but if you as the DM have effectively built that separating from each other in these lands means certain death, and they've both saved each other's lives in combats leading up to this moment, then it makes a lot of sense for the characters to stick together, even though one of them is really badly hurting due to the other's actions. And that then leads to another roleplay moment where they reconcile. Perhaps Delsing apologizes, or perhaps this is a long-standing issue within the party that gets resolved over the course of the campaign, with Selena offering an olive branch only for Delsing to slap it away, only at the final climactic battle for Delsing to finally apologize. It's a great example of how we can have drama within the party without raising that big lingering question of why is this person in the group. It's also a great example of how the DM needs to be a part of the whole process. There's numerous ways you, as the DM, can help keep a group together. In military campaigns, this is really easy. You leave the group, you die via execution for going AWOL. In the Puritanicals, my Deathwatch actual play series, they have literally no choice but to work together. It's their duty as Astartes. You can often achieve the same in a multitude of other campaigns. All you need is that external force forcing them together. As we said earlier in Strahd, the group have to stick together for survival. The land is simply too dangerous for them to go off on their own. Strahd is also a great example of how a shared enemy can bond a party together. You see how we gave Selena and Delsing a strong connection to Strahd that made them want to take him down. Thus, they have a reason to stick together through thick and thin, even if they don't get along, because they need allies to kill Strahd. Obviously, this method has a couple of major drawbacks, which is once the big bad's dead, why do they stick together if they all hate each other? And does their hatred for the big bad outweigh their hatred for each other? That's why it really is a group effort to make a great party dynamic, as the DM can only really do so much. That's why communication at session 0 is so important. The goal here isn't for you to make a character everyone is happy with, but for everyone to make characters they are happy with and work well together from a story perspective. This isn't a zero-sum game. Everyone needs to win at D&D for a great adventure. This is how you get those fantastic party dynamics you see all the time in YouTube videos. Though hey, if role-playing's not your thing, and you just want to sit down, roll some dice and kill some goblins, that's all good too, so long as everyone at the table is on board and having fun. That's all for now. Remember to like and subscribe. If you liked this video, consider supporting me on Patreon. We also have a Discord if you're looking for some people to play some games with. Links to all that down in the description. But anyway, ciao for now.